So should I begin? All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana Shodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Bhakta Brinda ki Jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, chapter entitled Divinity and Divine Service, text number 25. Bhejire munayo thagre bhagavantam madhokshajam sattvam shema भेजिरे मुनयोथाग्रे भगवन्तं मधोक्षजं सत्वं विशुद्धं क्षेमाय कल्पन्ते ये नुतानिह भेजिरे मुनयोथाग्रे भगवन्तं मधोक्षजं सत्वं विशुद्धं क्षेमाय कल्पन्ते ये नुतानिह. Synonyms: Bhejire, rendered service unto; Munayaha, the sages; Atha, thus; Agre, previously; Bhagavantam, unto the personality of Godhead; Adhokshajam, the transcendence; Sattvam, existence; Vishuddham, above the three modes of material nature; Kshemaya, to derive the ultimate benefit; Kalpante, deserve; Ye, those; Anu, follow; Tan, those; Iha, in this material world. Translation: Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. The purpose of performing religion is neither to profit by material gain nor to get the simple knowledge of discerning matter from spirit. The ultimate aim of religious performances is to release one from material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world, where the personality of Godhead is the supreme person. Laws of religion, therefore, are directly enacted by the personality of Godhead, and except for the Mahajanas or the authorized agents of the Lord, no one knows the purpose of religion. There are 12 particular agents of the Lord who know the purpose of religion, and all of them render service unto him. Persons who desire their own good may follow these Mahajanas and thus attain the supreme. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So first of all, I would like to thank all the devotees from the Yatra of ISKCON Miami Outreach for allowing me this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much.
Thank you from ISKCON Miami Outreach. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that we see you over and over. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So today we are speaking from the first canto, second chapter. And we find that the setting is in the holy there at Naimisharanya, and with great compassion in their hearts, they had come to perform sacrifices for 1,000 years for the welfare of the entire universe. And this universe was a very appropriate way to perform these sacrifices, for the sacrifices performed here and the blessings of the sacrifices that would be received would easily be available to the entire universe. So these sages to be their inspiration, and that person is Suta Goswami, who was blessed being a speaker, inspired, and devotional service. So Suta Goswami is an appropriate speaker, and Suta Goswami here has been requested by the sages to speak about that which is auspicious and would bring about the welfare of all living entities in the universe. So amongst various things, Suta Goswami, so Suta Goswami, in order to serve the sages, starts speaking from what he has heard from his spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, when Shukadev Goswami was instructing Parikshit Maharaj. And that is the setting. And so here we find Suta Goswami, he opening to the sages about how important it is to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhejire, which comes from the root word bhajan or bhaj dhatu. The root word is bhaj. So bhaj means bhajan, bhaj also gives rise to the word bhejire. So bhejire, its root verb, its verbal root as bhaj, is translated by Srila Prabhupada in his purports as devotional service. And hence, when Suta Goswami here says, Bhejire muneyo thagre, atha agre, let us try and remember and follow in the footsteps of that which has been done previously. Agre means previous or older. So there have been sages previously in previous ages who have also rendered service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called as Bhagavantam and Adhokshajam, both. So Bhagavantam refers to the Supreme Lord, who is full of all opulences, and Adhokshajam refers to the Lord being transcendental to the material realm, the Lord being beyond the three modes of material nature. And since the Supreme Lord is beyond the three modes of material nature, the idea is that discussions about him and about his activities would naturally also be beyond the effects of the three modes of material nature. And since his activities, his qualities, his names are beyond the three modes of material nature, and the Supreme Lord is full of all opulences, it brings in sattvam, it brings in an existence of purity, and this existence of purity is Vishuddham. Vishuddham means pure, from especially pure in terms of being affected or not affected by the modes of material nature. So why and how do the modes of material nature affect any living entity? In concise words, the three modes of material nature uh, have been brought into existence such that the misinformed and disillusioned living entity, uh, due to the covering of ignorance, is able to try and understand that how it is difficult to be the enjoyer. The three modes give the opportunity to the living entity to try in various ways, in various permutations and combinations, uh, to express one's desire as the enjoyer and find it to be very frustrating. So, in terms of trying to be the enjoyer and ultimately finding it frustrating in all our attempts, is very involving. So if one gets involved with the three modes of material nature, then one is not really equipped to think beyond the modes of material nature. Therefore, the word Vishuddham has been used, that the Supreme Lord is beyond the three modes of material nature, is above the three modes of material nature. And if one engages in these activities, then one gets the benefit of being free from the entanglement in the various kinds of distractions that are offered by material nature. Why is the living entity distracted by these varieties of material nature? Essentially, the living entity is forgetful of how there are other ways which are transcendental to the enjoyment offered in this material world. The living entity has become forgetful of that. It is called as the sleeping state of the living entity, or it is also the example is also given as a person who is in a dreaming in the state of sleep, having dreams. So kshemaya means beneficial to one. Kshema means that which gives us facilities or opportunities that help us to grow, hence beneficial. Like yoga kshemaya, in the Bhagavad Gita, this word is used, yoga and kshema. So yoga means to bring that which is lacking. Kshema means to protect that which we already have. So kshema gives us protection from inauspicious, and hence here in the word for word meaning it has been translated as benefit. What the ultimate benefit that can be achieved, that can be received? Srila Prabhupada ji, he elaborates on that, the purpose. The ultimate aim of religious performance is to release one from material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Person. So this is in other words, to re-establish a relationship with the Supreme Lord. So the relationship with the Supreme Lord has been forgotten by the living entity in this material world, and this is simply to facilitate the desire of the living entity to be forgetful of Krishna and try to enjoy separate from Krishna. Hence, the living entity has been put over by the covering potency of the Lord. So there are two potencies living entity. Prekshatmikaya, which throws the living entity into this material world, or which keeps the material entity forcefully, and the other is the Avaranatmikaya Shakti, which is the covering potency of the Lord that covers up the living entities' awareness of one's relationship with Krishna. So the sages previously, here Suta Goswami is saying that in the previous ages, the sages rendered devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which helped them revive their forgotten relationship with the Lord. And with such revival, and over a period of time, with such revival over a period of time, ultimately one becomes completely free from the bondage of the material world in terms of birth and death, etc. So whoever follows such authorities is eligible for liberation in the material world. That is a translation. And Prabhupada elaborates on that in his purport by saying that these authorities laws of religion therefore are directly enacted by the personality of Godhead, and except for the Mahajanas or the authorized agents of the Lord, no one knows the purpose of religion. And then he goes on to refer to 12 such authorities that have been mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says that they know the purpose of religion. All of them render transcendental service unto him, that is unto Krishna. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Yamaraj is instructing, Yamaraj, the god of justice and the god of death, is instructing his followers about the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the nature of devotional service, and about the devotees of the Lord. He specifically quotes or instructs them through this verse. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam navai vidur rishayo napi devah na siddha mukhya sura manushya kutascha vidyadhara charanadayah. The translation is, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas and Charanas. And then Yamaraji, he says, Swambhura Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayasakir Vayam Dwadashaite Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhatah Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham Yam Gyatvam Yamraji says, Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, Grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami, and I, myself, know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for the ordinary human beings to understand, but if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated and he returns home back to Godhead. In the pastimes of Lord occasion where he may receive any form of respect or praise. So he appeared as Haridas Thakur. And then it is also explained by that there is an aspect of Prahlad Maharaj in him too. Just as Prahlad Maharaj showed his compassion towards all living entities, Thakur Haridas also showed his compassion towards so many living entities. So, from the life of Haridas Thakur, I would just briefly narrate an incident which would help me get or help me express some of the points that Srila Prabhupada has brought out in this purport. So, Haridas Thakur is living in the town of Fulia, which is very close to the town of Shantipur, and it is on the banks of the river Ganga. There, in an isolated place, Thakur Haridas lives in a cave, and he is constantly chanting the holy names of the Lord inside, staying inside that cave. Since the cave is a little remote, there is not much civilization around it, no human population around it. Still, hearing about Haridas Thakur's presence in that cave, the residents of the town of Fulia, they were very much attracted to seeking his assistance. And slowly, the name and fame of Haridas Thakur spread specifically in the town of Fulia, and the people, the towns, they would speak amongst themselves about how fortunate they were having him, having his presence there. This ignited some envy or some real envy in the heart of the local administrator, who was also the religious head of a certain community. This local administrator and religious head was honorifically called the Qazi. So this was the Qazi of Fulia. He became envious of Haridas Thakur. He complained to the king of Bengal, who was in Nawab, and his complaint was that Thakur Haridas had taken birth in a very auspicious and blessed community and family, the family of Muslims. However, he was chanting the names of Hindu gods, and thus he had become a blasphemer. And according to the injunctions of religious practices and according to the state laws of those times, he must be punished. The Qazi was a very influential person, and he was also well respected, and therefore the king did accept his petition, or did accept the Qazi's words, and he sent his soldiers to how do you say it? He sent his soldiers to where Haridas was, and they bound up Haridas, and they put him in jail. Now the jail was also quite prisoners who were there just because of religious bias. These were all decent people, and when they became aware that Haridas Thakur would be also staying in the same jail, they requested the jail superintendent to please move them to quarters, to cells close to where Haridas Thakur would be imprisoned. The jail. The jail superintendent, being a nice person, he agreed to their proposal, and they were moved to these cells. As soon as Haridas and was taken to his cell, all these people, they strained themselves against the bars of the prison cell, wanting to catch a glimpse of Thakur Haridas Thakur. Glimpse of Thakur Haridas. And the Chaitanya Bhagavat says, Haridas Thakurera Charana Dekhiya Rahilena Bandigana Pranati Koriya. Seeing the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur, all the prisoners offered obeisances to him. Ajano Lambita Bhujo Kamalanayana Sarva Manohara Mukha Chandranupama. Haridas Thakur's hands reached to his knees, his eyes were like lotus petals, and his enchanting moon-like face was beyond compare. Bhakti kori shabe kori lena namaskara shabara hoila Krishna bhakti ravikara. As everyone devotedly offered obeisances to him, ecstatic devotional symptoms manifest in their bodies. So just by the presence of Haridas Thakur and being favorably inclined towards him being very eager to surrender unto him, or to just have association of him, offered all of these people the opportunity to experience ecstatic devotional symptoms. When Haridas saw the prisoners' devotion, he mercifully smiled at them and he spoke. Thaka thaka ekhano achaha yena rupe Gupta Ashirvada Kori Hasina Kautuke. With a curious smile, Haridas gave them an ambiguous blessing. Stay there, stay as you are now. Hearing his blessings and unable to understand his equivocal words, the prisoners all felt morose. So all the prisoners thought that Thakur Haridas is blessing them to stay inside the prison, which superficially does seem to be the meaning of his blessings. Literally translated, his words practically could mean that. And herein we see we can understand the subtle idea of what it means to have relationship. A relationship is a two-sided affair. A relationship cannot be a one-sided affair. So typically in this material world, most of the relationships are generally a one-sided affair. And what is the affair? The affair is, what is this one-sided affair? What is that relationship? The relationship is where one wants to enjoy. The material world is made up of matter. No, matter cannot have relationship with another matter. That is not possible. For example, a pen does not have a relationship with the pen stand. However, you may feel, an observer, a living observer may feel that it has a relationship with the pen stand. And the observer may kind of keep the pen stand in a particular way and the pen inside it in a particular way. So what the observer is doing is trying to impose one's own feelings on the objects, which actually have no relationship amongst themselves if left alone, because that is matter. So when we have this one-sided relationship, matter does not have any relationship with each other. However, whatever relationships are understood in this material world are relationships which we impose onto matter. We impose onto how matter relates to another matter. So this body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, which is matter. It is called as Achit. We as the observer, we are imposing our idea on this body. We are imposing the conception of relationship on this body. And now since the body as matter is not able to reciprocate, because matter does not understand the idea of relationships, this becomes a one-sided affair. Hence, there is a greater probability that one would want to be the enjoyer because it is a one-sided affair, because one once superimposes one's emotions on others. And typically, when we deal with others, also when we just see them as their material bodies, that they are beautiful, they are good, or we just look at them according to what we feel are their qualities, that they are compassionate, they are attractive, they are kind, etc., etc., etc. If these understandings are arising from the material platform, then what we are doing is we are trying to impose our ideas of who they are, our idea of who they are upon them, upon this relationship. So this relationship becomes a one-sided affair. And wherever there is this one-sided affair, wherever there is superimposition, there cannot be happiness. Happiness comes from a reciprocal relationship. So the only relationship that is reciprocal in this material world is when the living force has a relationship with another living force. And in this material world, the other living force, which is always free from this conception of matter, or which is transcendental to matter, is the super soul, or Krishna, who is expanded as a super soul. So when the practitioner establishes a relationship with the super soul, with Krishna, then there is reciprocation. And similarly, when one establishes a relationship with the soul that exists in other bodies, then there is relationship. So when there is reciprocal relationship based on or between two entities that have similar qualities, there can be reciprocation, and there is in this reciprocation the conception of service is predominant. Hence, when we practice devotional service, it has to be practiced on the platform of spirit, of spiritual existence, wherein the conception of rendering service is easier to apply, is easier to assimilate. Here in the prison cell, we see that most of the prisoners being being very much in anxiety about their existence inside the prison cell, have approached Thakur Haridas. Now, their inclination or their desire to approach him is because they know that he is a saint and they seek blessings from him. However, within their approach is the material conception that we want to receive something from him. So here is the superimposition of this idea. And because of this idea that we want to receive his blessings, because he is a saintly personality. So right now, the relationship is reciprocal, is one-sided. So when Haridas Thakur offers them the blessings that you stay right where you are, this makes them, this kind of shocks them. And feeling morose, they have no other recourse but seeking shelter. So when they seek that shelter, Haridas Thakur now explains to them what is the real meaning of his blessing. He says, shortly after Thakur Haridas mercifully explained the meaning of his mysterious blessing, he said, "You have not understood the meaning of blessings I gave, and therefore you are lamenting. I never award inauspicious benedictions. Carefully try to understand as I explained. Your minds here are presently fixed on Krishna. Let them stay that way forever. Now that you can all gather together and constantly chant the names of Krishna and think of Krishna, this is the supreme benediction." So as soon as they felt helpless, their hearts reached out to Haridas Thakur. And Thakur Haridas's words and blessings now had meaning for them. Now obviously Haridas Thakur had to explain it to them. So here we see that how great devotees of the Lord are able to explain to us the subtle principles of service even when we feel that we are in situations which are very difficult. The material world is definitely a difficult place. However, its saving grace is which allows us to render a loving devotional service unto Krishna, specifically through the chanting of the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll stop here. I'm sorry I went a little beyond time. If there are any comments or any reflections, feedback, please feel free to offer that. I'm sorry, I have to lift this up because the volume is very low on my side. Oh, thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate that, and I take that as a blessing. And well, technically, from the Varna point of view, I am still in the ashram of Brahmacharya, where I am a student, a spiritual teacher, who is a Maharaj, who is Nasi. So I hope if I. Oh, sorry, my name is Rohit Priyadas. Thank you so much. It was indeed a great pleasure being able to serve all of you. Hare Krishna.
I have a question, Rohit.
Yes.
He says in the slogan, they worship free from material conditions. Queen Kunti says, let these calamities happen again and again, so we can see you again. So, how we understand on this point? Can you explain, please?
Oh, all right. So um, I'll try and repeat the question again. The question is that
Yeah, the sages wanted to become free. They worship it to become
yes, it seems to be a difficult place. It is a place of problems. On the other hand, we also find Queen Kunti in the first canto that to have the association of Krishna, she may undergo material calamities. So thank you for asking that question. Queen Kunti's prayers are very inspirational for all the varieties of devotees, all the devotees. And Queen Kunti's prayers, specifically this one, which is very popular, it resonates with how Haridas Thakur is offering blessings to the prisoners inside the cell, inside the jail. Um, the gist of Queen Kunti's prayers and the gist of Haridas Thakur's blessings and the gist of the great authorities wanting liberation from the material world is that they want to have a place and a situation where they can render uh, um, unrestricted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Queen Kunti is feeling very, very desperate. Uh, this idea that Krishna is leaving them is intolerable to her. Um, Krishna has, the war is over, the war that had taken place at Kurukshetra was over, and now King Yudhishthir had been established as the emperor of the world. So Lord Krishna felt that he should go back to his kinsmen, he should go back to Dwarka. So Kunti Devi, she feels this separation from Krishna. And this is a very intense emotion of a devotee whose extreme, which comes in, which arises, these feelings arise when one is very advanced in Krishna consciousness. These are feelings of extreme attachment or asakti that one feels when one is in the stage of prema. So one has, or one expresses that bhava, those emotions, when one is in the stage of Krishna prema. So Queen Kunti is manifesting that because her mind is convinced that if Krishna leaves them, then they they would be orphaned. That is how her mind is convinced. Because of her emotions that she feels towards Krishna. This is one aspect of a particular emotion known as the emotion of separation, which one feels when one is very much attached to Krishna. So, to try and keep Krishna with her, she kind of clutches on to straws. Her mind is convincing her that Krishna was always here whenever they needed protection. Whenever, like when Durvasa Muni was visiting them and they were in danger, Krishna appeared there to protect them. When they were trying to avoid a war-like situation, Krishna appeared in Hastinapur as the peace messenger, the messenger of peace, Shanti Duta. And when they needed help on the battlefield, Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. And there were other instances when they were in the burning forest of Lak and they escaped, in the burning house of Lak, the Laksha Griha, and they escaped from there. Then Krishna, he kept, he was in the he knew the whereabouts of the Pandavas. So Queen Kunti could see that Krishna was always there with them personally whenever they were in any kind of danger. So out of sheer desperation, she wants that they be in danger so that Krishna is personally with them and she gets to serve him in that situation. And the sages who are requesting that they get liberation from this material world also are kind of aspiring for a similar situation where they go to the spiritual world and they are in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and they serve him without being limited by the obstacles that are present in the material world. So for the sages, existence in the material world is an obstacle. That is how they are convinced that it is an obstacle in their service towards Krishna. And for Queen Kunti, their association and going away from them is an obstacle to her serving Krishna in his physical presence. Both of them are praying to Krishna to have a situation where they are free from obstacles in rendering service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So externally, they may seem to be desiring different situations, but in essence, they simply want to render apratihata service, unrestricted service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I hope that is helpful. I do have time. Do we have time on the conference call? Sure, Prabhu. I could take another question.
The verse says, whoever follows such clear guide, God's enemies will forever and they will tell, now of all things, this day is coming that the world will believe, how we can see about the advancement.
Oh, so since the verse says that by following great authorities we become eligible for liberation, is there any ways that we could understand that we are making advancement? Is there anywhere where we can objectively, by ourselves, understand that we are making advancement? So technically, the progression has been explained by the previous acharyas. Especially Jiva Goswami explains it in his Shatra Sandarbhas, and that is again, explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur when he echoes the same sentiments, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur also in his Harinam Chintamani and other books, he reveals that. And Srila Prabhupada in his purports, he has translated their writings into the English language. So we have heard of the progression from how initial faith one progresses towards pure love of Godhead. The most tangible understanding of progression in the conditional stage is when we feel free from distractions which would ordinarily make us go away from devotional service. Like any distractions which makes us choose wanting to stay away from devotional practices, even for a moment, for a single moment. When a devotee becomes enthusiastic over a period of time in installments, added installments, one realizes that these obstacles, which are called as anarthas, anarthas means that which prevents us from having incremental attachment towards Krishna. So these affections, these incremental amounts are easier to obtain when we are in the association of devotees who have advanced levels of attachment towards Krishna. So that is where following or being in association of such great personalities is helpful. So association is of two types. One is physical presence, Vapu, and the other is through their teachings called as Vani. So being in association of such great souls is, and assimilating their teachings is following in their footsteps. So the first tangible understanding is when the mind becomes free from such distractions to a larger extent. And one develops a kind of faith in the practices of devotional service. Faith that allows us to come back to Krishna consciousness again and again and again, or stay in Krishna consciousness over a period of time. Stay in the practices of devotional service over a period of time. So to be able to make that choice consciously, to stay in Krishna consciousness or to come back to Krishna consciousness, to higher levels of surrender, incremental amounts, that is tangible. So now, because of these realizations, the faith becomes stronger. The faith grows deeper roots, and that brings us to the stage of nishtha. So in nishtha, in the stage of nishtha, the idea of relationship it becomes very prominent within one's consciousness, where relationship means there has to be reciprocation, like I offer service and I also receive the other person giving me an opportunity to render service. I am grateful to be able to receive the opportunity that the other person offers me to render service. For example, if I go in front of the deity, I feel grateful that the deity stays standing there, so that when I come in front of them, I receive their darshan. I receive their blessings. So one feels that reciprocal relationship in nishtha, or when one's faith is very strong. And because this relationship is now strong, and this relationship is not one-sided anymore, it is not it's not the superimposition of one's feelings or thoughts. It is where one feels that gratitude, or one feels the presence of the existence of the other persons being meaningful to us. This is a reciprocal relationship. So that reciprocal relationship helps us develop taste. And once one has taste, that taste is a very personal understanding. One realizes that one has taste, and from there onwards, the realization becomes deeper and deeper and deeper. I'm sorry if I sound very theoretical. However, this is how it has been explained in the scriptures by the previous acharyas, the Gaudiya acharyas. I'll stop there. Is that helpful, or if someone would like to add something more, I'm open to that.
I will always remember Vaisha Shekhi Prabhu says, measure the level of advancement of the devotee by how objectively shows up for his service. So that attachment to devotional service measures our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So if we lack the activities of hearing Bhagavatam, of Krishna, studying scriptures, doing service for other devotees, reciprocating with our devotees, then we know that there is some attachment to devotional service that is being missing. You may watch a wonderful class participants.
Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.